Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Balls It Up podcast, the podcast where we bring you the latest in sport. We also have the Balls It Up segment coming up later in the show where we show you the funniest mess-ups in sport from the week, and this week we've had quite a few. I'm your host Daniel Hayton, and this is our producer, Courtney English.
Hi.
So, football has started up again this last week, and to bring football back, there's obviously been a lot of new rules put in place and guidelines. In the Sheffield United and Aston Villa match to kick off the restart, the managers were not actually on the touchline as they gave the touchline priority to the medical staff, and the managers were a few rows back in the stands behind where the subs sit, because they do not sit on the benches either. They sit in the empty stands behind the actual benches, and the managers probably actually would have liked that because they get a better view of the match. They've also brought in water breaks halfway between each half. So in the first half, about 20 minutes in, they all stop, they go off and have a water break, get a drink, and same thing in the second half. There's obviously no handshakes before the match because usually every team would come and line up and then the one team would go across and shake the other team's hands, but there's none of that. They just stand there and then walk back.
You know what though? Are they still allowed to handshake with people who are on their own team? Because when they did a sub, as one came off and the other came on, they were like fist bump.
Yeah, they do have the fist bump still, but it doesn't really matter because on the field they can't stay away from each other.
Exactly.
Obviously, there's no non-contact in football, especially on corners and free kicks. But they obviously have the new rule in football where the subs, when they're being taken off the field, they have to go off at the nearest touchline. So if they're all the way at the other side of the pitch, they have to go off of that touchline and walk all the way around. So not all the time, though that rule has kind of not really worked because the players end up going to the other touchline anyway, and it's trying to speed up the play of the game, but no one really listens to it and they go off wherever they want anyway. The refs need to take more control of that and tell the players to get off at the closest touchline. But that kind of eliminates handshakes, but yeah, I don't really think it's that necessary. Obviously there's no crowd, though with that, Sky they have two channels where they show the football matches. They have Sky Sports Main Event and Sky Sports Premier League.
Yeah. On
the Premier League channel, they have the natural stadium noises, so you'll hear the echoes around the stadium, you'll hear the managers and the players shouting. But on Main Event, they have pumped in fake crowd noise to make it feel like football have passed.
I found that really weird. When I was listening, I was like, it's so weird because it's kind of like tricking your ears because you see that the stand is empty and then you're like, well, where's all this noise coming from?
Well, I mean, the crowd noise, I have watched both, but I prefer the natural noise. I don't know why, I just do. I feel it sounds, I like the natural noise, but the crowd noise, it sounds completely real. I don't really know how they've done it because obviously when like a team scores a goal, then the crowd all start shouting. So when do they know like someone's going to score a goal and then the crowd go wild?
Yeah, that's a good point because I'm guessing they've got like audio from the other matches before the lockdown.
They'll have audio from the home team crowd and they'll pump that around the stadium. Obviously the players can't hear it, but it just makes it more natural to the viewer. One of the new rules to come in, which I feel is quite unnecessary, but I understand why they have to do it. You know, you want to make sure that the disease isn't spreading in any way, even though none of the footballers have it or else they wouldn't be there. But every time a ball gets kicked off, it has to be disinfected and they have to throw another ball on. There's no ball boys. There is like cones or whatever that hold the balls around in different parts of the field. And every time a ball goes off, it gets sprayed down with disinfectant before it can come back on. So they have to switch ball every time.
I mean, that's a good idea because I know the goalkeepers have got gloves on, but they're all like headering it and stuff like that. So, and when they do throw-ins and stuff. Yeah,
I understand why they do it. Obviously, it's a good routine to get into, but like I said, none of the players or the staff have it because otherwise they wouldn't be allowed to be there.
Yeah.
Also, at half-time, I've seen that they spray down the goalpost with the same disinfectant.
Really?
Which, again, I don't know why anyone would be touching the goalpost. I guess.
But point in that? I'm a bit weird.
Yeah, they spray down the goalpost. There's a lot that goes into it. They're really taking heavy precautions to make sure everyone's all right in that stadium. They've also got, when the teams come out first, like the away team comes out first, and then the home team comes out, so they enter separately. They do not come out together.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because normally they're like both next to each other in the tunnel, aren't they?
Yeah, and they both walk out together. But now the away team comes out first and the home team comes out after, except for at Tottenham Stadium, because of the way it's set up for the NFL, because they have the NFL games.
Oh, yeah, they
there.
do, don't they?
They have the 2 separate changing rooms, and that's the only stadium where teams are actually allowed to come out together. Going back to the crowd, they have like big screens behind the goals.
Yeah.
And they've got like people sitting at home watching the game on their laptops.
Yeah.
And it's like they're on FaceTime or Skype or whatever, and they're behind the goal, so you can kind of like see them cheering or whatever.
I found that really weird. When I first saw that, I was like, what is that? Because because they don't have like loads of people, how do they pick who's going to be on the screen?
I
How
think
do you
it's
even go
like,
about being on the screen?
I can't remember. I know Sky had a way to do it, but you have to go on like their website and sign in. It's I don't know how they choose like who gets to go up there. It might be like VIP customers or whatever.
Oh,
It might have to
maybe.
be like a certain
Or like
package.
sponsors or something.
Yeah, maybe. And there's the biggest rule, which there are now 5 subs that can be made, and teams can now have 9 on the bench. So usually you'd be able to make 3 subs from 7 people. You'd have 7 subs and you'd be able to make 3 subs from them. But now you can make 5 from 9. Some people actually didn't like the rule. I mean, Aston Villa were one of them. They said they weren't really a big fan of having more subs, but other teams really like it. I don't understand why they wouldn't want to make more subs.
Yeah,
It gives you, if you have an injury after you've made 3 subs, you can make
got
another
some
sub,
leeway.
and you can give more players game time,
Yeah.
save more players fitness, because that's one of the big things. That's why you've got the water break, and that's why you've got the extra subs to keep the players more fit.
Because no one's ready.
Yeah, and these subs, the 5 subs have to be made at 3 different points of the game, so you can't make all 5 subs at once. You have 3 times where you can make subs, and you have to choose how many you want to bring on at a certain time. So you can make like 4 at one go or whatever, but
Yeah.
you have to make them at 3 different periods.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of new rules, but again, it's to make sure that we can have football back and that everyone is safe. We've seen a common theme from the games since they've come back, and that is slow starts, players looking very rusty. We've had this theme where, you know, teams will have loads of the ball. We've seen it with Leicester. We saw it with Chelsea in their first half of the game against Aston Villa. And the teams will have like 70% of the possession, but their final third play, like they'll be giving away the ball quite easily. It'll be quite easy for the other team to defend because everyone's just so rusty since they haven't been playing for over 100 days.
That's a long time.
And you can really tell that players' fitness is not like at peak condition.
They're not match fit.
One of the things we've seen is teams aren't pressing as much. So teams will have more time on the ball. And I think that's why Man City have got out to a really good start, because obviously they love to keep the ball, they love to pass it around. With teams not pressuring them off the ball, they can just control the game and do what they want, because the players just don't have the fitness to run around and chase people for 70, 80 minutes.
Oh yeah, you can tell. They just don't look up to the right fitness level.
The first game was Aston Villa Sheffield United. It ended 0-0. There was a bit of controversy towards Sheffield United as they should have had a goal, but the one technology that we thought was fine, you know, VAR has its problems, but everyone thought goal line technology, at least that works. That was faultless up till now, but someone decided to not turn it on. We've seen the replays.
It's terrible.
Neeland, the Aston Villa goalkeeper, catches the ball from a cross and falls back into his own net.
And the thing is, it's so obvious.
From the replay, you could see that he fell into the corner of the net and the ball was clearly sandwiched between him and the post. And the post is the goal line.
Yeah.
So if the ball's behind the post, it's obviously over the goal. And from the replay, you can clearly tell it was in. But, I mean, the referee was apologising at half-time. They apologised after the game, And it's just an absolutely terrible situation. It's a complete botch job from the referees.
As soon as they realised it was wrong at half time, couldn't they change the score or something? Or does it have to stand?
No, it has to stand. The decision on the field has to stand, obviously. VAR, this is my problem with it. VAR could have stepped in.
Oh, yeah. And that would have solved the issue straight away.
The referee could have easily given the goal, and then VAR could have reviewed it to see if it actually did cross the line. You didn't need goal line technology. If goal line technology wasn't working, VAR should have stepped in.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, we've seen VAR is just not used in the way it should be. And it 100% should have stepped in there.
I feel like VAR at this point, what's the point in having it? Because it could have done something good there, but instead, nope, didn't do anything.
VAR has been very hit or miss to start this year. You know, you've had this opportunity with Sheffield United. In last night's game, Tottenham West Ham, where Heung-min Son scored the first goal of the game, or as we thought, but we could see that it wasn't like his part. It wasn't this decision. On first thought, I looked at it and thought, oh my God, VAR's done it again. We've seen it so many times where people have been offside by their pinky toe.
Oh, it's so stupid.
And it's absolutely ridiculous because we go back to it. It's meant to be a clear and obvious mistake by the referee for it to be overturned. Sure, if their toe is offside, are they technically offside? Yes, 100%. Because a part of their body that they can use to touch the ball is offside. But is it a clear and obvious mistake by the referee on the field? Someone's little toe being offside, impossible to see from a referee's perspective. So it should not be used to overturn that.
If you have to zoom in, because on the VAR, don't they zoom in a lot sometimes?
They zoom in crazy and they get their little dotted lines.
Those lines up. If you have to do that, no.
I do agree with the Heung-min Son offside though. After seeing it on the replay, I think it was clear and obvious enough down the line. Because obviously it was very close, but down the line you could see he was just offside. I mean, that was a good decision. But there's just been so many times this season before the restart where VAR is just not worked in the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest thing is it's meant to be the video assistant referee, but many times it's taken control as if it is the main thing, whereas the on-field referee should have control over that.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It's not assisting, it's taking over. At this point, they might as well just get rid of the referees because all their decisions can be pretty much overturned by.
And with the goal line decision, it kind of shows that the referees rely on the technology so much that they can't make a decision for themselves. Because, like I said, the referee could have easily given the goal and it could have gone to a review.
The thing is, they shouldn't be relying on it because what the hell did they do before VAR was around?
They made a lot of mistakes, and this is the other issue with VAR. A lot of people complaining about it.
But it's the refs.
A lot of people were complaining before VAR turned up, and VAR has come in to help the referees because they were making so many mistakes before it. But it just seems like they're making even more mistakes. They're just making different mistakes now.
Yeah, they're just different types of mistakes, but they're still mistakes. I feel like the referees need to really get their act together because they're causing a lot of the trouble. In fact, if the refs were actually decent, VAR would be a lot better.
And the problem with the Sheffield United Aston Villa game is the decision to not give that goal has major relegation and European implications.
God, yes.
If Sheffield United had won that game, they would have jumped ahead of Man United and gone into fifth. And as we know, with the Man City decision still yet to be final on their European ban, fifth place at this current moment is a Champions League spot. Sheffield United would have been in that spot had the goal been given. And also, Aston Villa picked up a point in this game.
They wouldn't have.
If West Ham, Bournemouth, Watford get relegated by 1 point and Aston Villa are the team above them, there's going to be some serious controversy with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this match and that decision could change a lot of things. It could have saved Aston Villa when they really don't deserve it. And it could have penalised Sheffield United when I think that they deserve it because they've actually been pretty decent this season.
Sheffield United, this is one thing I've seen. In both their games, the Aston Villa game and the Newcastle game really showed it. Sheffield United are very rusty.
Oh, yeah.
They have the second best defence in terms of conceding goals in the Premier League, only behind Liverpool. And they conceded 3 goals to Newcastle, and the goals they conceded were terrible defensive mistakes, which you do not see a great defensive team like Sheffield United make.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're rusty. They haven't scored a goal yet. They just don't look ready for the restart. And in terms of the Aston Villa game, going back to it, Henderson continues to be probably, arguably, the number 1 England goalkeeper this year, as he made a number of big saves in the Aston Villa match. It was an interesting game, really, aside from the controversy, because Sheffield United had much more of the possession, but Aston Villa had the better chances in the game. Without the controversy, I think 0-0 is a fair result.
Yeah.
But it's just that decision and goal line technology not working that completely destroys that. Yeah. But Aston Villa were decent in this game. They defended well. They defended well, and they also had some good attacking chances, but they couldn't quite get it. They've had some striker problems. They're playing a youngster up front who hasn't really played this season because of injury, Keenan Davis. I mean, he's looked pretty good. He's a physical striker. He can get him behind, but he hasn't really been able to finish some of the chances, and he just needs a bit more experience. But Aston Villa have definitely started better than they finished before the restart. The relegation battle is very interesting because it's a situation where the teams aren't picking up many points.
Yeah.
Brighton, we've seen absolutely pull themselves out of the relegation fight brilliantly with 4 points against Arsenal and Leicester, which they would have absolutely bitten your hand off if you had offered them 4 points from them first 2 games. They've pulled themselves up. Watford got a good draw against Leicester. They've got to keep going. I think Watford definitely have the quality to stay up. Definitely not the team that's going to get relegated, in my opinion.
I agree. I feel like they had a tough start to the season, but I feel like as it's gone on, they've got a lot better. I feel like they don't deserve to get relegated, to be honest.
The thing, though, with Bournemouth, West Ham and Aston Villa, they are lacking quality and struggling to pick up results. And I feel like it's going to be a situation where one result is going to get a team saved.
Yes.
One win is going to be absolutely massive. And
I fully agree.
That's how the relegation battle is going to be sorted, because the relegation teams just are not showing enough quality to get themselves up.
Yeah, it's like what we were saying the other day about it's a shame that Norwich don't have a chance because the 3 teams above them are all at that same sort of level where they're really not doing what they need to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think Norwich just really struggled and they just don't look ready for the Premier League, unfortunately. On to the Arsenal-Man City game. Now, this was a very interesting one. Obviously, it's a bit difficult for Arsenal. They would have loved to pick up some points here as they finished off before the restart very well. They were climbing back up and maybe looking to push for the Champions League spots. But the way they started this restart, I think that's probably gone for them now.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely.
This game was another one where it took a while to get going. Like, Man City completely dominated the game in the end, but we saw the first 30 minutes, it was back and forth. Arsenal had some chances, Man City had some chances, but we saw that same rustiness and that lack of fitness. But then it got to about 30 minutes and Man City just started to take over the game and show their quality. We saw a lot of injuries in this game. Mikel Arteta had to use 2 of his subs in the first 20 minutes due to injuries. They lost Granit Xhaka in the first 5 minutes and then Pablo Mari within 20 minutes.
And that just shows that they're not ready for matches.
Just, the first game back, and some players just aren't ready for it. Some interesting starters in the game. Arteta started quite a few youngsters for Arsenal, and obviously Garcia was in there at defence for Man City. It was very heavy rain in this game, so it was a completely different kind of match to what we've seen previously. Arsenal, before this game, were unbeaten in 2020. 4 wins, 4 draws. They would like to have more wins than draws, obviously, but undefeated in 2020, you can't argue with that.
Wait, really? Arsenal?
Yeah, they had a really good start to 2020 before the season obviously stopped.
I'm surprised because I feel like they've done really bad this season.
For their standards, yes. But since Mikel Arteta's come in, they've been really good under him. They've found a way to not lose the games, and the games that they were drawing before, they've turned some of them into wins. The big thing with Arsenal that we have to talk about is obviously their away record against the big 6 teams. So that's Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, these kind of teams, Liverpool obviously. They have 0 wins in 25 away games against them teams.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's why I thought they were doing so badly.
They've got 10 draws and 15 losses.
Oh, that's not good.
And we saw that continue here. They just haven't been great away from home this season, previous seasons, and against the big teams. They just can't pick up them wins. It was a very even start. Man City obviously had more possession as they did. De Bruyne looked great, even though everyone else looked completely unfit. I think he just completely showed his quality in the Premier League, and it's definitely got to be looked at as maybe the best player in the Premier League, especially first game back, and just the way he controlled the game was absolutely brilliant. The big thing about this game, though, we have to talk about is David Luiz. He came on for Pablo Mari about 20 minutes in, and he pretty much gave the game to Man City. His first mistake, which the ball bounced literally right over his leg, it was a cross from De Bruyne, but it wasn't a great cross. It was just kind of like a kick and hope, and it completely bounces in front of David Luiz. He makes yet another mistake, bounces straight over him into the path of Raheem Sterling. Of course, 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. He's not going to miss. That was 1-0. You thought it couldn't get any worse than that. In the second half, what does David Luiz do? He goes and takes down Mahrez in the box, and then he gets himself sent off.
Wow.
So not only does he get himself sent off, but he gives away a penalty to Man City. Man City, they have had their penalty troubles, but De Bruyne completely ended that, and it's just the story of David Luiz. But the big thing we got to talk about as well is that apparently after this game, Arsenal thought it would be a great idea to sign him to another 1-year contract and keep him at the club after this, what they clearly saw as a fantastic performance.
Arsenal, what are you doing?
So,
what a decision.
Yeah. David Luiz he's got a mistake in him, definitely, and that red card was just unneeded and silly.
What were they thinking?
And then they go and sign him to another contract. And then after the second goal, City completely bossed the game. They were on cruise control, making it look like a training game. They were just passing it around so easily. Leno had a really good game, but unfortunately the 2 errors really cost them, and there was nothing he could really do, and City went on to win 3-0 in the end. I think the one thing we can take away from Man City is Liverpool are very lucky that they're so far ahead in the title race. Oh yeah,
because Man City have looked really good recently.
Because Man City have been absolutely dominant to start. They could have easily won the Arsenal game like 5 or 6-0. They had so many shots, and it was just completely comfortable. But
and considering like we're only just getting back into it, like I know they're a bit rusty, but by the time it's got like you said that 30-minute point, they're completely comfortable out there on the pitch.
Man City are really showing their quality, especially with the lack of fitness, and they're really looking good. Moving on to day 2, we saw Norwich against Southampton. Now, this really showed that Norwich just aren't ready to push and stay up.
Yeah, I think they know that too.
They had a great start to the game against Southampton. They had a good 10 minutes, they were lively, but they couldn't grab a goal. And then Southampton just showed that they were a much better team, really. Southampton looked actually really good.
Yeah,
they were in a relegation battle earlier in the season. But,
they've pulled themselves out.
I mean, they had that 9-0 loss to Leicester.
Oh, that was a tough one.
But in the reverse fixture, they went and beat Leicester 2-1 at Leicester.
Yeah.
So they have really completely turned their season around when it was looking very bleak for them at the start of the season. They look like a really good team now.
They're like a whole new team.
Especially with Danny Ings up front. He's completely turned into a very good striker. And he had that poor time at Liverpool due to injuries, but he's come to Southampton. He really showed up for them and started scoring quite a lot of goals. Norwich were just... They struggled in this match. They struggled to create anything, and Southampton didn't miss their chances. Norwich did have a chance to make it 2-1. Their top goal scorer, Pukki. If this was early in the season, and he was playing with the confidence he was early in the season, he wasn't rusty, it would have easily been 2-1. It was such an easy shot, but he shot to the wrong side of the goal and hit the defender. I can't remember what side of the goal it was. I believe it was the right side of the goal. Could have easily shot into that and put it into the back of the net, but instead he shoots left and he hits the defender.
Yeah,
he's not playing with confidence at all. Obafemi started for Southampton up front. He looked quite lively, but his end product was not the best. But Southampton were just head and shoulders the better team here. The second game on this night was Tottenham and Man United. Now, this was quite an interesting game. Tottenham had a few little injuries. Lucas Moura was out. Yeah, Lamela started in attacking midfield, and he played quite good. You know, he fought hard for the boy, was really getting in there, but he gave away the ball way too much. For the position he was playing in, that attacking midfield role, like, everything's got to go through you. You're the guy that's got to set up the chances for the wingers and the strikers to get in. He was just giving away the ball too much. Kane was completely out of this game. He didn't touch the ball in the first 20 minutes. And it was a very passive game. It felt very much like a friendly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sideways passing, teams struggling to get up the pitch.
I feel like Kane is at a disadvantage because not only has he not been playing throughout this whole lockdown, but he's been injured for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. You could see in the first game he needed to get his match fitness back. It was good for him to play 90 minutes, but he really didn't have a lot to do with this game. The solo goal by Bergwijn to open it up when the game was looking like it wasn't going anywhere. What a goal this was. But what a goal it shouldn't have been. He dribbled past Maguire, their £80 million centre-back, like he wasn't even there. And then, to be fair to him, it was a powerful shot, but straight at David De Gea. A couple of seasons ago, this guy, easily one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah.
But this last couple of years, he's lost his focus a little bit, I think, and he's made some shocking mistakes. This is definitely, for a goalkeeper of his level, you've got to be saving it right at him. He goes to punch it and just bounces straight off him into the goal. Great solo play by Bergwijn, but De Gea needs to save that, and it definitely shouldn't have been a goal. After the goal, Tottenham played structured, good defence as they would under Mourinho. That's how he plays. They grab a goal, they sit back, and they defend well. Man United had a lot of possession in the second half. They had a few long shots, but they couldn't get into the good shooting positions because of the defensive play. That changed when Paul Pogba and Greenwood came on for Man United. Them two subs completely energised them. And Paul Pogba, who hasn't played since December, and he's had a lot of controversy around him. He's a big name player, signed for massive money a few seasons ago, but he just hasn't really done it for Man United. He looked absolutely fantastic in this game. He was head and shoulders the best player on that pitch since coming on. and Greenwood gave him something different. He was running around making some good plays. Fernandes was obviously good in midfield again for Manchester United. He's been good since he signed. Him and Pogba are head and shoulders above the rest of the Man United team. They're just a different level of player, and that's the problem with Man United. They just don't have that quality that they've had in past years where they were winning Premier League after Premier League. They just don't have that quality. There's some good defending by Tottenham, but sitting back, you always have that possibility of giving away a penalty if you're not too careful. Pogba with some great dribbling, straight past Dyer, clumsy defending, takes him down in the box, and he gives away the penalty. It was a good penalty by Fernandes. Man United straight back into the game. Man United should have capitalised on that equaliser, but they just couldn't. Tottenham came back into the game and opened up chances for themselves. There was that penalty decision. Now, this is where VAR actually made a very good decision.
I remember you telling me.
Dyer gave away another penalty in the box. VAR went back to it. You saw on the replay, Fernandes clearly dived and the penalty wasn't given. It was a much better game after the goal, and that's another thing we've seen, another theme from these first few games. Games need a goal. Before that first goal,
it's a bit slow.
They're slow, they're sluggish. They just need that goal to get in. Then teams start getting into their rhythm. They start playing better. It needs that first goal. And I think that's one thing with the crowds not being there.
I feel like it loses the adrenaline, which brings the momentum of the game.
Some players need the crowd shouting to get them going.
Yeah.
You lose the intensity of the game, and it starts to feel like a friendly match.
Yeah.
And pre-season games. And you just don't have that intensity of a Premier League game. Like a Tottenham Man United game should be a physical, fierce battle. It was just a passive game to start off. And it finally got into that after the goal. Yeah, on to the third set of games. We had a 4-game day, which was started off by Watford and Leicester, which was 1-1. This was another game. Completely uneventful first half. Absolutely nothing going on. The second half came out, it was much better end-to-end stuff. Watford getting some chances, Leicester dominating the possession like they were expected to. Watford had great counter-attacks off of them. Nothing happened until right at the end of the game, where the game completely kicked off. What a strike from Ben Chilwell, the left back.
Brilliant.
The left back. What a screamer it was into the top right-hand corner. Unstoppable.
I went crazy.
From Ben Foster, who had made some good saves previous in the game, but that was absolutely unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
Leicester thought they had won the game, 88th minute. It was like, we just got to hold on. And they did try and hold on. They backed off a little bit. Watford got some chances, got the ball. They get a corner. Leicester can't deal with it. And another absolutely stunning goal from probably the best player on that pitch, at least from Watford's perspective, Craig Dawson. An overhead kick from the defender. What a goal it was.
Yeah.
What athleticism from the man. He played really well in this game and deserved the goal, really. For Leicester, the best players on the field were Damari Gray, who hasn't had many opportunities this year, but he looked really good, and Justin filling out at right back for Pereira. He's done a very good job for Leicester. Obviously not the dynamic threat going forwards that Pereira is, and Leicester have really missed that. But Justin's done a decent job. He's a young right back looking good for Leicester. And obviously Dawson was great for Watford. Another disappointment for Arsenal. You can't put it any other way. They just simply have to win this match. They lose 2-1 at Brighton from a late goal from Mopé. Brighton coming into this game, 0 wins in 2020.
No way.
That's why they were starting to get pulled into that relegation battle. And you just start to think maybe they could get pulled into it. But their start to the season has been really good. This was a massive win. This was a massive win for them. Arsenal were on top early. They got the first goal. Brighton even were the better team at the end of the first half, I think. There was not much excitement though outside of a couple of shots. Leno, Arsenal's goalkeeper, it didn't help that he got injured. There was a lot of controversy around this as well, with Mopé chasing and Leno coming outside the box to grab the ball, and it looked like a horrible injury. The way his leg twisted was absolutely horrible. and hopefully he makes a quick recovery, but that definitely didn't help Arsenal. They did grab the first goal. Pepe scored a great left-footed curled shot from the right edge of the 18-yard box. Great finish, but Lewis Dunk makes it 1-1 from close range shortly after, and goal line technology was working for this one because they did give the goal. So someone turned it on this time, thankfully. Mopé scored in the final minute. It was a great breakaway from Brighton. Good finish. And obviously the controversy, Arsenal players probably didn't want him to be on the pitch after he may have given Leno a nudge which caused him to injure himself. I don't think he meant it. He was just a striker trying to chase down the ball. And the controversy after this goal, I mean, Arsenal were giving him some after the game. I mean, I think it was Guendouzi who grabbed him by the throat after the game. And I cannot understand for the life of me how he wasn't fined for doing that.
I was going to say, you can't do that.
You saw it was clear images of him doing it. He just goes up to Mopé and just grabs him by the throat. It's just like, this is football, not wrestling. Chill out.
Yeah.
But I understand you're upset for your goalkeeper getting injured, but you can't act like that. I cannot believe he wasn't suspended or fined or anything.
No punishment at all.
No punishment, just a warning.
That's
warning
ridiculous.
for choking someone, pretty much, and
that is ridiculous.
You can't do it.
No.
A draw would have been fair, but Brighton nicked it right in the last minute, and Arsenal dropped points in another away game.
To Brighton.
And yeah, Arsenal are looking good for a 10th place finish this year. Let's just say that. West Ham Wolves. Wolves started well, but they just couldn't find the breakthrough, winning 0-0 at half time. Now, we've got to talk about Pablo Fornals. His miss against Wolves. Oh my God, it could have put West Ham 1-0 up.
Oh no.
And they really needed that, but he missed an absolute sitter. And Wolves went on to win the game 2-0 with 2 late goals from Jimenez and Neto. And I think this could be spelling the end for West Ham. They've really got to start playing better if they want to stay up. Final game of the night was Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. Bournemouth were the better team by the stats. They had the most possession. They had some good chances, but they're lacking in attack this year, and it's shown. That's why they're in a relegation battle. They just don't have the goals in them. They couldn't start Ryan Fraser this game because he's decided not to sign his short-term contract to see it out to the end of the season. We've also seen that Burnley had a few problems with that too.
Oh yeah, they made it very clear that they had some problems.
But yeah, Ryan Fraser's decided he doesn't want to come back to Bournemouth and he's looking to move on earlier. He's not even finishing the season with them. But what a great free kick it was by Milivojevic. I was absolutely stunned when I saw this goal. It was a terrific free kick. What a strike. And Crystal Palace, they didn't have the most possession. Bournemouth had quite a few chances, but Crystal Palace just showed that they are a much better team. It was a good strike by Ayew to make it 2-0. And Bournemouth were in real trouble, especially with the amount of chances they created. And the amount of ball they had, they just couldn't find a breakthrough. They had no lack of opportunities, but that's just been their season. They've just lacked quality in front of goal, and it could really cost them now because we're getting into the time where you need to start picking up results.
Oh
and
yeah.
They are one of the teams in the relegation zone.
That relegation battle, every point is crucial. The
relegation battle is very, very interesting now. On to the next set of games. We had Sheffield United's second game again. They're really missing Jack O'Connell in defence. He's their best defender and really offers them something going forward too. Obviously, Sheffield United play a weird system that we've not really seen before, where the centre-backs overlap the wing-backs, and it's a very interesting system, but it's worked so well for them. They've used it since League One, I believe, and they've come straight up to the Premier League, and they're still continuing to use it. It was 0-0 at half-time, and it was expected because we've got Sheffield United, the second best defence in the Premier League, Newcastle, the 10th best defence in the Premier League. Newcastle have been very good at sitting back, and nicking games right at the end. That's how they've got themselves out of the relegation battle early. Sheffield United were on top again, as they expected, but they had a few set pieces. They looked very rusty. Newcastle struggled to keep the ball early. It was misplaced passes and heavy touches from Sheffield United. This was their problem in this game. They couldn't string passes together to save their lives. They had poor touches. It shows the rustiness.
Oh, yeah.
Key players in their midfield, Ollie Norwood, looking at him, he made a few key errors in his passing, which he just doesn't usually make.
No.
And that's why Sheffield United have been so good this year. Alan St-Maximin for Newcastle, what a player he is. He's so exciting to watch. Every time he touches the ball, he's just so positive. He's always trying to take on his man. He's got great close control dribbling. He's so hard to tackle. Sometimes he's unstoppable. You try and force him off the ball and he just slips away. He's got such quick feet. And he was easily the best player on the pitch. And he making Sheffield United defenders look like they weren't there. Dean Henderson was really keeping them in the game early. The big chance of the first half was Newcastle striker Joelinton, who has very much struggled to score this year. And you could just see the absolute lack of confidence. It doesn't help that players are obviously rusty, but the lack of confidence to be one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And he just looked like he was caught in two minds. He didn't know which way to strike the ball. And he just miskicks it and falls on his face. And that just explained Joelinton's season, really. I felt so bad for him, but he's not playing. He's just not playing with any confidence, and he really struggled for goals. He works hard. Don't get me wrong, he's all over the pitch, he's chasing down balls, but just in front of goal. Newcastle really need him to start scoring more goals because they've struggled for goals this year. Newcastle had the much better chances, but their offensive struggles were continuing until the second half, where John Egan got sent off for Sheffield United, and it was a silly error, really. I mean, there was no reason to pull Joelinton down. He wasn't going anywhere. He was right in the middle of the pitch. He was last man. And he just trips him up, pulls him down, and gets his second yellow card and gets sent off. And that puts Sheffield United, who've struggled, in even bigger danger in this game. They were playing uncharacteristically, the defensive errors, and that is what led to Newcastle's first goal, which the cross was put in. Ender Stevens right in the middle of the box. Somehow he just completely missed the ball. I don't know how he either did it. It just went completely through him. It was like he wasn't there. St-Maximin just finishes easy at the back post. They just don't look ready for the restart, and St-Maximin really deserved the goal. He's been the best player on the pitch. He gets another good chance, but Almiron misses an absolute sitter in the middle of the box. Newcastle were terrible in front of goal, but with 10 men, Sheffield United just couldn't get it. They still had some chances even with 10 men, but they couldn't do anything with it, and Newcastle just ended up pushing forward, and they were scoring for fun all of a sudden. A team that was struggling for goals just started scoring for fun in this game. Richie, with an absolutely fantastic strike, made it 2-0, and you could tell that Southampton were lacking a player. Because Richie just walked forward. No one even tackled him because the defender didn't know whether to cover the man out wide or go and block the shot. He should have definitely blocked the shot, but he was in two minds because they were man down.
Yeah, they needed that extra guy.
And especially when you're used to playing 5 at the back and having that extra man there.
Oh, yeah. As soon as you
playing
take
a
one
4
away.
at the back, it's a completely different system. You're used to having a centre-back right next to you, but he's just caught in two minds, and it was a great strike, and this pretty much ended the game. And then finally, Joelinton actually did score. It wasn't like a crazy finish, crossed in, tapped in close range, but my God, did he need that.
Oh, yeah. He just needed it to get that momentum
Any
back.
goal. He just needed a goal, and that should hopefully get him going, give him some confidence. He just needed a goal, and he finally gets it. He gets his reward for playing really well, actually, and Sheffield United just absolutely collapsed. 80 minutes in, Sheffield United were out of character. Newcastle could have scored more, but it's ended 3-0. The second game of the day was Aston Villa and Chelsea. Now, I don't know how many times Aston Villa actually touched the ball in this match, but it certainly wasn't many, because Chelsea absolutely dominated the possession. But it didn't help again with the rustiness, and I mean even Chelsea to end off before the season stopped. They were struggling to really just get shots away. They'd have loads of possession, but they just wouldn't challenge the goalkeeper enough. This was definitely the situation in this game.
I feel like it doesn't help because they're very young players. They haven't got that experience.
They just don't challenge the goalkeeper enough. They have so much of the ball, they just don't shoot. You need to challenge the goalkeeper, especially all their possession was in the Aston Villa half.
Yeah.
And Aston Villa caught them. Chelsea, once again, struggling defensively with the crosses in. Courtney Hawes makes it 1-0. I think Rudiger probably needs to change his career, as he's clearly a better agent than a defender at this point. Obviously, Chelsea fans think he was quite big in getting Timo Werner to come.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really poor defending. Funny thing that happened early in this game is the sprinklers came on.
What?
Luckily, the ball was out of play, but the sprinklers came out. I think it was about 5 minutes in, and it's quite funny. The sprinklers just came on in the middle of the match, and the groundsman will pick up the backside for that.
Oh, yeah.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek made his first start for Chelsea in this game. We haven't seen him in over a year because he's had some big injuries. And you could tell that he hasn't played in a year. He didn't look ready for the start. I definitely don't think he should have started this game. He definitely should have maybe come off the bench towards the end of the game to get him some fitness back. He definitely wasn't ready to start.
Yeah, I feel like they threw him kind of in the deep end. Like,
he must have had a great few friendly games to get in the starting lineup. One player I was shocked to see for Chelsea was Willian, as it looks like he is definitely not going to stay past this season. I just wasn't expecting Chelsea to play him, especially with their young players like Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic. I was definitely expecting to see Pulisic start. He came on and very much helped Chelsea, but Keenan Davis started again for Aston Villa after looking alright against Sheffield United, but again, he's just not the threat in front of goal that he needs to be. Neeland was back in goal after his shaky game. Neeland's a good goalkeeper. Like, he can make some good saves, but his handling is just a bit questionable, especially when the ball's in the air. And that's why Chelsea really needed to have a lot more shots in this game, especially with a goalkeeper who's been struggling with his handling. You got to challenge them. Mount was good in this game. Chelsea would have been very disappointed after the first half. They'd spent 90% of that half in Villa's half, but they just didn't make Villa's defending difficult enough. It was just too easy for them to clear the ball and break up Chelsea's play.
Yeah.
And then just 60 minutes in, out of nowhere, because Chelsea started off the same way in the second half. Out of nowhere, they scored 2 very quick goals. Pulisic from close range and Giroud with a great bit of luck. He shoots and it comes straight off the leg of the Aston Villa player and goes in. They needed that bit of luck and they deserved it with the amount of possession and play they had had.
Oh, yeah.
Villa defended well, but it was always going to be tough to defend a team with 75% of the possession.
Oh, yeah.
Coming straight at you over and over again.
They weren't going to be able to hold it for the whole game.
Courtney Hawes should have had another goal. Chelsea are really, really poor defending crosses. Courtney Hawes gets a free header and just puts it over. It should have been 2-2. It was a much better half for Chelsea, and the game really opened up after the second Chelsea goal. Villa were pressing hard towards the end of the game, making it really hard for Chelsea to, Chelsea just wanted to run out the game, and they were really struggling. They had to play it longer because Aston Villa were pushing. Aston Villa got some decent chances and made it hard for Chelsea, but I think Chelsea are really going to benefit from getting the new players in for the next season. You've got Timo Werner coming in and Ziyech from Ajax. Them players are going to really help with Chelsea's attack, especially.
Oh yeah, they're going to push it.
They're going to help the young players. They have shown that they can do it at a high level, which these young Chelsea players are just starting to show that. These players coming in have already shown that, and it should really be a big boost for Chelsea. And they definitely need some attacking help. Aston Villa are definitely in trouble, as they just don't seem to be able to pick up results.
They can't really seem to get a win anywhere.
They just don't really have a lot of luck right now, and that's the problem with being in the relegation zone. The luck's just not going with you.
I feel like they're stuck in a rut right now. and if they don't get out, then they're going to get relegated.
They gave it their all. They didn't look bad. I think Villa have definitely looked better than Bournemouth and West Ham early in the season.
Yeah, I agree, because they've not been a bad team all the way through the season. They've had some moments where they've looked like they could get out of that relegation zone, but then it's times like this when it's just like, maybe not.
Chelsea even had to bring on Reece James for Willian for extra defensive support just to make sure they saw out the game because they were really struggling with Villa pushing, but they managed to get out of it. Chelsea had 19 shots in this game, but only 5 of them were on target, and that's just been the story for Chelsea. There's not enough shots on target. They need to work the goalkeepers more. The last game of this night was the big Merseyside derby with Everton and Liverpool. Now, this is a theme we've seen since the restart because of the lack of crowds. Big derby games like this, they don't really feel like derbies.
No, because normally there's a lot of...
They're lacking intensity that crowd would add to, and they would be screaming and shouting. Players would be getting into it. You saw some back and forth between the teams, as you would expect with Everton and Liverpool. But it just didn't feel like an Everton-Liverpool game.
Yeah.
You expect that physicality and that intensity, but
they need that rivalry from the crowd.
Once again, felt pretty much like a friendly game. Yeah. Liverpool, as great as they've been this season, even they're rusty. Good. And you can really tell that. You could tell that they missed Salah.
Was he not playing?
He must have had a knock, because he didn't even come on. Minamino started, but Minamino, one of their youngsters, he wasn't really suited to that Salah role. He was drifting inside too much and he wasn't getting in behind. He was a player like Firmino who wants to come to the players and get the ball to feet, but Liverpool needed them running in behind and getting that penetration and just getting behind to create attacking opportunities. I just don't think Minamino was suited to that role. He needs to be playing in the Firmino role, or maybe in midfield to come and get the ball. Everton defended very, very well this game. They really struggled to get anything going offensively. They struggled to even get a shot. I think Richarlison for Everton has been watching his fellow countryman Neymar play, as he loves rolling around on the floor after a tackle. I mean, you touch this guy, he goes down and you roll about 15 feet. And you roll about 15 feet to the left just because he's rolling around on the floor.
That is one of my pet peeves of football. When they get tackled and just roll around it's too much. Like, stop.
Yeah, Liverpool were very wasteful. They didn't create much. Milner got injured early, which was not good for Liverpool, as Robertson, their left back, was out injured. Milner filling in for left back, and he got injured, so Gomez had to come in and play out of position on that left, and you could tell he just wasn't getting forward in the way that Robertson was. They were losing that attacking threat there because he was staying back. Calvert-Lewin at one point in the second half, ball got kicked to him and he dribbled it on his head. He did about 4 headers in a row and just dribbled the ball out of bounds. I'm not really sure what he was doing, but it was quite a funny moment. Seamus Coleman was easily the best player on the pitch. He completely shut down Sadio Mane on that left wing, and that is a very hard thing to do with Sadio Mane being such a good player. But Coleman was really up for this game and he was playing so well. Everton still in the second half couldn't get really a lot going. They had next to no attack, but they were just defending so well, and Liverpool missing Salah and Robertson and their quality. You could tell they were missing some quality up front. Gordon then finally came off for Sigurdsson, which I thought would give them more help in the counter-attack, but again, they did get a couple of chances late on into the game. Richarlison got one on the counter-attack, but he just completely blasted the ball over from a lack of composure. Liverpool got a free kick late, which probably shouldn't have been a free kick. Mane got fouled, but luckily they hit the wall. I think Dean's clearly got the ball there. But this was a theme with the drinks break. We saw it in the Tottenham Man United game. Man United got the equaliser, they were pushing. The momentum was all with them. Then the drinks break came.
And break it up.
And everyone stops, they go get a drink. Momentum completely killed.
Yeah. I thought so.
In this game, Everton got a breather. Like, they were defending the whole game. And then the drinks break comes and they get a little breather. So Liverpool can't keep piling the pressure on. 78 minutes in, Everton had under 30% of the ball. And they had about 28% of the possession. This is how little they had touched the ball, but they defended so good again. Everton should have won this game. They had a chance late on. Calvert-Lewin flicks the ball on in the box. Allison barely gets his fingertips on it, pushes it straight towards Davis, who then hits the post from the 6-yard box. Everton 100% should have stolen this game. That was the best chance of the game by a million miles.
They blew it.
Everton came to life in the last 10 minutes. 0-0 was probably a fair result. Everton definitely good value for their point there, especially with the way they defended. Next game the next day was just the one game this day, which was Burnley and Man City. Burnley obviously having the contract issues.
They made it very clear that they were not happy about that.
Yeah, Sean Dyche definitely didn't look happy in his pre-game interview, but they lost Hart, their backup goalkeeper. Aaron Lennon, who's been a bit part player for them, and Hendricks, who's been a good player for them in midfield. They're not playing because obviously they haven't signed extensions. Burnley made a statement in this game. They only chose 7 of their subs out of their 9 subs. They're clearly not happy with the contract situation. They only chose 7 subs. You get 9.
I feel bad for them, to be honest, because I feel like they're really going to suffer from this.
Burnley, they had a few chances, but they, as you would expect against Man City, they sat back and couldn't really create much. Man City led with a great strike from Phil Foden, who had an absolutely fantastic game, the young Man City player. A few long shots early for Man City, but not a lot going on. The quality for Man City came out in this game. Mahrez with a great solo goal. And this was basically Man City's second team. They were playing. They completely rotated their defence. De Bruyne wasn't playing.
They still made it look very easy.
Aguero got tackled in the box and it ended up being a penalty after a review from VAR. Maybe a bit of a harsh penalty, but Aguero gets the ball first, nudges it on, and then gets taken out. So you can't really argue with it. It was a little bit harsh.
I'm not going to lie. At first, I didn't think they were going to review it because they carried on playing.
Yeah.
And it was only until Man City got the ball again that they stopped.
Yeah, and unfortunately Aguero got injured and it's not looking good for his season. He looked like he had a problem with his hamstring, that kind of area, maybe his knee. Yeah, it's not looking good for Aguero's season. Mahrez scored the penalty. Man City looked like they have got past their penalty troubles. Before the season stopped, they just couldn't find a penalty taker. Everyone was missing, but 2 penalties out of 2 for them. Pope almost got there, but it was a great penalty for Mahrez just out of his reach. Burnley wasn't really threatening at all, and Man City were absolutely dominant. If this was earlier in the lockdown, Burnley probably should have been arrested for unnecessary travel because the way they played, they may as well not have shown up.
Oh, yeah.
David Silva made it 4-0, and 4-0 down. Burnley know they're not going to win. They brought on a defender for a striker, and they were just going for damage limitation. But even that didn't work, and Foden makes it 5-0, completing his absolutely fantastic game. And now on to the games that happened yesterday when we are recording this podcast. Leicester-Brighton 0-0. Leicester came out with a different formation, which I really don't think worked for them. They played Iheanacho and Vardy up front together in a 4-4-2. They're definitely better suited to the 4-1-4-1. They had Mendy and Ndidi in midfield. And with them 2 players, very similar. They're more defensive-minded players, not got a lot of creativity going forward in them. You could just tell that Leicester were lacking something from their midfield.
Oh, yeah.
Maddison out on the left wing. He was cutting inside, but with them 2 midfielders, usually Tielemans is in there with him and provides even more creativity and helps Maddison out. But Maddison drifting in from that left wing, he just seemed to be completely out of the game early. Wasn't really getting enough good chances on the ball. Ben Chilwell had the whole left wing to cover. He was doing a pretty good job down there, but this is the problem with starting a young right back. Justin gives away a penalty. It was poor defending, really, inexperienced defending.
Yeah.
He should have dealt with the ball, but he just ends up tripping up the defender in the box a bit clumsily, and he's been filling in nicely for Pereira, but that was just not good defending. Connolly was really creating problems for Leicester's defence, getting in behind. Luckily for Leicester, their goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, who you've got to say, easily one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League.
Oh, yeah. He's done really well.
He's so reliable for Leicester, and he saves the penalty. It wasn't a good penalty, but great save. Leicester struggled to create anything, and that shows again with the lack of creativity in midfield. Brighton definitely looked dangerous, but they just couldn't capitalise. They looked much more dangerous in the first half, but they just couldn't get that goal to punish Leicester for not being up to their best game. Vardy had a very quiet first game and a half. He was not really in their first game of the year, and he had one touch in 30 minutes for Leicester.
I mean, that's bad.
This is what Brighton were doing a very good job. Leicester's key players were completely shut out of this game. Leicester had so much possession, but it was all in the middle of the pitch, not in threatening areas. Brighton were pressing like we haven't seen this season. Their fitness levels were completely off the charts compared to everyone else. Very high fitness. They were every time Leicester get the ball, there was two players surrounding them, two Brighton players surrounding them, and that's why they couldn't create anything. They just absolutely swarmed them. There was an interesting little situation with Matt Ryan, again showing the rustiness, but he threw the ball. He went to throw the ball out, but he just held on for it too long and threw it backwards towards his own goal. Vardy got the ball, but luckily Matt Ryan was able to collect it from his feet. Very lucky that he didn't completely take Vardy out and give away a penalty, but just showing the rustiness again. Lamptey started for Brighton, the youngster who used to play for Chelsea. He actually had a very good game. He was all over the pitch working really hard for them. He had a good bit of dribbling as well. Leicester really lacked end product in this game, and even going into the second half, they still had plenty of possession, but they still just couldn't do anything with it. As soon as Leicester made the changes, though, because they brought on Tielemans and Barnes, they went back to their usual 4-1-4-1 system. They looked so much better.
Yeah, I don't know why they tried to change it.
I think Leicester were definitely missing the home crowd.
Yeah.
It's their first game back at home, and they just seemed to miss the crowd there, pushing them on. It was all Leicester in the second half, but they just kept giving the ball away in the final third. Justin just wasn't the attacking threat that Pereira was, and they really missed him down the right. Brighton started to tire late, as you would expect, the pressing they were doing, but Leicester just couldn't get anything but a few wasted long shots. Because Brighton were defending faultlessly.
Yeah.
Tielemans looked much better in midfield than Mendy and really helped Maddison get into the game. 81 minutes into this game, and it had been 35 minutes since Brighton had had a shot on goal. This is how dominant Leicester was. Leicester had a little bit of a penalty claim. I think it would have been harsh. Dunk in the box was falling. He was falling over. He was completely off balance. His arm just kind of stuck out and the ball collided off of it. I can understand why it would be a penalty, but I also see why it would be very harsh.
I mean,
because he couldn't control himself. He was falling over. Your arms naturally
flail around
flail
when you're
all over the
falling
place.
over.
And yeah,
I mean, it wasn't going to benefit from that at all.
I can see it from both sides, but Brighton absolutely pulling away from the relegation battle now nicely.
Oh, yeah.
4 points against Arsenal and Leicester.
Since this restart, it's like they're a different team.
Very, very good. But to say Leicester's end product was poor would be a huge understatement in this game. And that made it one win in the last 7 games for Leicester.
Oh, don't remind me.
They
It's
need
not
to
good
really
at
start
all.
playing well, because now they've got to look over their shoulders at Chelsea. They're 4 points ahead of Chelsea, but they've played one more game.
Chelsea are coming for them.
Luckily, I don't think they have to worry about falling any further than 4th, because Man United are quite a bit back.
Yeah, they're that little bit further back. So
It's a 5-point gap from Chelsea and a 9-point gap to Leicester, I believe.
if they get to 5th, no, they really need to do some serious looking at the team.
But Leicester have really struggled in recent times. The second game of the night was Tottenham-West Ham. It was 0 wins in 7 for Tottenham coming in. Both teams really badly needed a win. West Ham in the relegation, Tottenham needing to pick up some good points and really push on into them European spots. I couldn't believe in this game that Bergwijn wasn't starting after his great game against Man United. West Ham did start better. They looked sharper, and Tottenham couldn't really get forward in the first 10 minutes. This was a theme of this game. It looked very similar to the Leicester-Brighton game. All the possession for Tottenham, but not in key areas. West Ham had the better of the chances.
Yeah.
It was a carbon copy of the previous game. West Ham had a great chance, but it was a good save by Lloris, and West Ham were offside anyway. There was a good shot from long range by Lucas Moura, but a great save by Fabianski, who's been great for West Ham all season outside of that Liverpool game that I will never forget how bad he was in that game. Tottenham started to create chances, but West Ham still looked positive, but neither team could really do a lot in the first half. There was a great goal by Son, but unfortunately VAR came in, looked at the goal, and to be fair to them, it was offside, and it was not as close as some of them have been. I think it was enough to overturn the decision, but both teams definitely needed more urgency, and they needed to take more risks, because the game was just kind of stalling a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like when they get back in the momentum of playing weekly, and I feel like they'll be a lot better, and the games will have more urgency, and they'll feel less like friendlies.
Yeah. Fornals missed another sitter for West Ham, right in the middle of the box, one-on-one. He just completely miskicked it. There's a lack of confidence and composure under pressure. West Ham really needed that. They need them goals, and they're just not getting them. And Fornals has now done that twice. Corner comes in, and it bounces off Souček and into the West Ham goal. An own goal at the time where they really didn't need it.
They really didn't need that.
And you could really just tell. And it was the story of their season.
Oh, yeah. That sums up their season.
This is the thing with West Ham. When they go behind, they've conceded the first goal in 14 games this year, and they have lost every single one of them. And now 15. Make that 15 games. Lanzini and Anderson came on for West Ham, and they definitely gave a more offensive threat. Tottenham were happy to sit back and play on the counter-attack. West Ham were having some decent play, but no significant chances. Bowen hit the post. The ball absolutely echoed off the post. You could hear it throughout the stadium in this, but they just couldn't find the goal that they needed. And then Harry Kane, who wasn't looking his best still in this first game, threw ball right through the middle of the fence. Harry Kane, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And of course he finishes it. He needed that, and you could see after the goal, he was just laying on the floor. He looked absolutely relieved. West Ham just didn't have the luck this game, and it's
like the whole season.
It's looking more and more like they are
going
to be in the Championship next season. It's been a up and down restart. I think the games have been slow, and there's been a lack of goals. There's only been 4 games out of the first 13 this season where both teams have scored.
It shows that they've been off for a long time, especially players that have been injured, like Harry Kane. They're just not match fit yet, but I feel like it'll get better in the next couple of weeks.
Moving on from the Premier League, we've got League 2, which has started with their playoffs. Obviously had the points per game system to sort out the league table, and the playoffs have now started. Exeter beat Colchester 3-2 on aggregate after extra time in an interesting game, and Northampton are through to the next round with also a 3-2 aggregate win over Cheltenham. The final of the League 2 playoffs will take place on the 29th of June at 7:30. League 1 will also be starting soon with their playoffs Friday the 3rd of July, and Monday the 6th of July we have Portsmouth and Oxford and Fleetwood and Wycombe. We'll see how that one goes, and obviously the Championship has already started up. They are taking part in the full season just like the Premier League. And now on to Speedway.
Yeah, well, it's been quite eventful with the Speedway. Obviously, the Polish Speedway has kick-started, and there is already injuries. It's only been back for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, but there's already been injuries. Last night there was a pretty serious and a nasty crash in Heat 15, and it was Andrei Lebedev and Robert Lambert. I don't really know what happened. It was pretty hard to see. Like, Lebedev collided with Robert Lambert's back wheel and just went into the fence, threw him off the front of the bike, and he's got a suspected broken leg. So that's a great start for his season. He's going to be out for quite a while. Also, Ty Wolfenden last week had a minor injury with his foot, but luckily he is riding still. And Niels Christian Iversen, I'm not really sure what happened to him. I think he got injured during practice, but he is coming back. for this next round of Polish Speedway, which is definitely what Gorzów need because they are not doing well right now.
Even with the world champion Smarzlik on their team.
Yeah, they've got Bartosz Smarzlik. I mean, he's not done too bad. I think he got about 14 points in the last meeting. But I was saying to my dad when we were watching it, I was like, he doesn't look up to that standard that he was last year. I mean, last year he was flying. I mean, he'd get out the gate and he'd be like half a lap in front of everyone. But this year, he doesn't look like he's up to that standard yet. But he was definitely looking better towards the end of the meeting. So hopefully with Niels back in the team, they'll get some momentum and boost up. One rider has really surprised me, Jarek Campbell. Wow, he's had a really good start to the season. He's just looked unbeatable nearly. He's had so much speed. Unfortunately, Antonio Lindback has not had a good start to the season. He was picked to be in the Grand Prix again next season, and I think in his last meeting he got 1 point. It's not... Honestly, I like Antonio Lindback, but I really don't understand why they gave him a wild card to be in the Grand Prix. He's just so inconsistent. On his day, he can get maximums, but the problem is he doesn't have that day very often. And in the Grand Prix last year, he didn't show it at all, hence why he didn't get in. But for some reason he's back in the Grand Prix for this next season, if it eventually gets going. But this kind of shows that with 1 point from the meeting, it's not that standard that he needs to be at. It's not looking good at all. So we're going into the next round pretty soon. We've got riders coming back from injury, and we've got riders that are sadly getting injured already, even though it's pretty early in the season. The fans have been allowed to go back into the stadiums, but a lot of people are already complaining about it because on the TV, they're only letting in 25% of the fans. But if you look on the TV, there's not social distancing at all. Everyone's in big groups, everyone's really close together, and everyone's complaining about it because it's just going to cause more problems for the virus. I mean...
You really got to police that better in the stands.
Oh, yeah. It's... No one's telling them, like, look, you've got to spread out, you've got to social distance, because they're just not. I mean, there was like a clump of at least 10 people just sat all together in like different rows. Like, even if you're on different rows, like, you know what I mean? They need to be social distancing. They need to follow what the stadium are making them do, because at the minute they're really not.
Moving on to our next motorsport of F1. Not much news here, but they have finally released part of their schedule. This is not the final schedule, this is just the first few races. We're going to be starting on the weekend of the 3rd to the 5th of July in Austria, and then the second race also taking place in Austria through the 10th and the 12th of July. We move on the next week to Hungary through the 17th and 19th of July. Then we get to the 2 races that were said to take place at Silverstone between the 31st of July and the 2nd of August. And the second race is the 7th of August until the 9th of August. And then we move forward to Spain on the 14th of August to the 16th of August, Belgium 28th of August to the 30th of August, and then finally Italy from September 4th to September 6th. And it's mainly Europe as we expected, because a lot of the Asian countries and the other countries worldwide are not having their races take place, but many more races to come. F1 are definitely looking to have more than that, so we'll see where that goes afterwards. And they've also announced that they're going to have new TV graphics when the season starts, and that is going to have ultimate driver speed comparisons, which lets you see how fast today's races are compared to former
I like that.
races. There's going to be high speed and low speed cornering performance, driver skills ratings, car team performance and development overall in the season, and then the qualifying and race pace predictions. And that's going to come throughout the season. Moving on to our American sports now. And the NBA has some big news. We said in the last podcast they were looking at a 30th of July restart, and that is now confirmed. Today, Wednesday the 24th of June, is the final day for players to decide whether they are going to actually take part in the restart or whether teams are going to have to find someone else to take their place. has been a big blow for the playoff pushing Brooklyn Nets, as their star player Kevin Durant, who has been injured for the entire season, has decided not to come back and play after his long-term injury.
I think that's a shame because
He's waiting for next season and said it's not worth coming back and he just wants to be ready for next season. I'm surprised, especially considering they're going to the playoffs and he's one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that could have really helped them push for the playoffs.
Dates have also been set for the NBA draft and the start of free agency talks. The draft will be taking place on October 16th and the start of free agency will be October 18th. Denver have got a bit lucky with this news. You look at it in that way anyway, but Nikola Jokic, their star man, has tested positive for COVID-19. He's isolating in his home country of Serbia, but he will likely be easily back for next month's restart. That's all for the NBA. MLB baseball has finally sorted out their season.
Finally!
There was absolutely nothing last week.
No.
Now they've finally come out. They're going to have a shortened regular season. It's only going to be 60 games compared to the 162 that it usually
that's
is.
cut a massive chunk out.
Training is going to start on the 1st of July, and the season is anticipated to begin on the 23rd of July and the 24th of July. The decision was reached by unanimous vote of all the clubs. Players will be tested for COVID, and if negative, they will begin workouts. Players and staff will be tested every other day.
I mean, they're really keeping a lid on it.
Yeah, they're definitely making sure nothing gets out and spreads. The big news is that the designated hitter rule, which the designated hitter is a player that doesn't field and just hits for the pitcher, so the pitcher doesn't have to hit. Now, in the American League, that is always a thing, but for National League, they have their pitchers hitting. But now, got the designated hitter rule for both leagues, which is going to definitely be an interesting change for the National League teams. Like, they'll probably like it a lot better because pitchers obviously aren't the best hitters. And finally, we move on to the NFL. Not much news to talk about here apart from the big one from last week, which was Dak Prescott has finally signed the franchise tag, which is worth $31.4 million for the year. Massive salary, but obviously what he was looking for. The Cowboys will now try and work on a long-term deal. They have till the 15th of July to work on a long-term deal, otherwise he will be playing on that franchise tag for the rest of the season.
I mean, it took him a while.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to get a long-term deal worked out with him. He's their franchise quarterback, and he should be. He's earned that. He's not an outstanding quarterback, but he's a very solid quarterback and can lead their offense, I think. And now finally to the balls it up section. A lot of the stuff we've pretty much covered, but it is all on football because of the rustiness.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the rustiness and players coming back.
Oh.
There's been a lot of trouble. Obviously, the big talking point, VAR and goal line technology in the Sheffield United game. Goal line technology not being turned on. That is a massive balls up moment.
What are they doing?
David Luiz, missed clearance, which leads to a goal and then getting sent off.
I mean, David Luiz himself is just a balls up for this week.
Yeah, but apparently that was enough for Arsenal to re-sign him to a one-year deal.
Apparently that just showed.
Apparently that was a great enough game.
Oh yeah, I think
what he did in that game was good enough for a new contract.
Need this guy long term.
Also the David De Gea moment where he didn't save Bergwijn's shot right at him, and obviously Harry Maguire, the defender they paid £80 million for, just made to look like he wasn't even there by Steven Bergwijn. 4 nows, 2 games, 2 great chances at 0-0 to potentially save West Ham from relegation, and he blows both of them. West Ham go on to lose both of them games. Joel Linton, we knew he was going to be there after that one-on-one with Dean Henderson. He's lucky he made up for it with his goal in that game, but that one goal doesn't make up for his horrible season, and that one-on-one chance really described his season. You've got to talk about John Egan with his red card. That was a balls it up moment. Sheffield United was still in the game at 0-0. They get a man sent off. Newcastle can take advantage.
It just ruined any chances they had.
Sheffield United showing their rustiness, usually great defensively, but they end the Stevens moment right in the middle of the box, completely misses the ball. St Maximin makes it 1-0. Defensive errors, they just don't look ready for the restart 2 games in. Matt Ryan, not the biggest balls up moment because he did manage to save it, but showing the rustiness again, throwing the ball backwards to Jamie Vardy.
You don't really want to do that.
Luckily, he gets the ball back, but that was almost a massive moment.
Oh, that could have changed a lot.
Especially in a game that finished 0-0.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm probably missing a few, but that's just how many things have gone wrong for the players in the restart due to rustiness.
I mean, where to start? There's so much more we could add, but we'd have a whole other podcast.
That's what happens when players haven't played for a few months.
Oh, yeah.
They just need to get back into it. But all in all, we're glad to have football back. We're glad to have sports coming back. And with that, we've got to the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
We'll be back with episode 3 very soon. You can listen to episode 1 in the links in the description, and also check out our social media.